Finally, it's that time again. There's a new topic that I'm really excited about, and that is smart home locks. In the past, I have already tested one, namely the Homekey lock. I have been using it for about 2 years now. And now it's time for something new with new features and even a new DIY project that will follow right after, which will take this lock to a completely new level. But I'll tell you more after the intro. Yes, I will start in the good old way with the unboxing. I don't want to go into too much detail about it. Let's just take a quick look at what is included. Because the lock comes with different accessories, which I should also have partially included here. Because in addition to the lock itself, we also have the hub that we need to control the device remotely. It makes it compatible with Meta, but we'll get to that later. And then, for me, it is very, very practical as someone who had the Homekey lock before with the corresponding keypad. Because there is also a keypad here, which brings an additional advantage, at least compared to my old keypad. But first, let's take a look at the lock itself. I tried to avoid getting too many spoilers so that we can experience this together. People say that the Homekey lock sounds like a pepper mill or something similar, so it is quite loud. I should also mention that I have the first generation Homekey lock. In the meantime, they are said to have become quieter, so I'm curious to see how this compares here. First of all, I would say I will just unpack this thing. Okay, the microwave has started. Apparently, I unpacked the battery directly here, by mistake. And here you can apparently take it out. I'll do that right away. Ah yes, and there you can see these are just regular AA batteries. I'm currently checking whether these are rechargeable batteries or just regular AA batteries. I'm trying to figure out the best way to get them out. So without having looked it up now, it definitely doesn't say here that you can't charge them. Accordingly, I would now assume that these are batteries ? That you can then charge. However, I do not see any device here to supply power to the lock from the outside. So, for a fixed power supply, it definitely looks bad. You might have to create something yourself with this battery device here. Then I'll put it back together, put the cover on here. And then let's see what else is included. On one hand, we have the contact. This is quite practical for those who haven't dealt much with smart home locks to find out whether the door is currently open or closed, as one usually doesn't know that. This is where this window contact comes into play, which is positioned next to the door, allowing the lock to know whether it is currently closed or not. It's nice that it's included and you don't have to organize it separately. So, besides that, we have a mounting device, an instruction manual, and lastly, what looks to me like either a flycatcher or probably adhesive strips or something like that. So, according to the instructions, this is just an adhesive strip that you place over the lock for the first 2 days to properly secure it to the door. We still need to see how that looks. And then we also have plastic pins here. Okay, and these are the mounting pads. Depending on what kind of lock you have, you can use various mounting pads here. I already know this from Homekey. There is variant A here. If the cylinder protrudes a little from the lock, you can simply slide this onto the cylinder and screw it in. Otherwise, there is the alternative method of simply sticking it down with M-tape and then it holds like that. Yes, and that's it? Okay. Then I would say, let's not waste time here with this nonsense. I'll install everything, test it for a moment, and then we'll see each other again. Because I'm really excited to get to the special features and especially the DIY project. So, a few days have passed and I was able to take the opportunity to test the system thoroughly again, and I would say let's go through it together now. First, regarding the setup, I would say it is relatively easy, like with any smart lock or how I would wish it to be with any smart lock. First of all, I set up the Log Pro, simply connected it with the app and completed the setup via Bluetooth. After that, I set up the switchboard hub to control the lock remotely as well. It worked wonderfully. And finally, I integrated the keypad, which was super easy to connect via Bluetooth through the app. It then directly suggested connecting to the Log Pro. This means that the two are essentially connected to each other. You can also notice it by the speed. And through the bridge, I was able to activate Meta with just one click to integrate it directly into HomeKit, thus completing my setup. What is particularly special about this keypad is that you can open it with an NFC card, which honestly reminds me a little bit of a Tesla card, but of course also with a regular PIN code and even with a fingerprint. Perhaps because it's all new, but also maybe because I find it pretty cool, it has turned out to be my most common unlocking method. You can set up cards, pins, and fingerprints temporarily for a certain period and a specific number of unlocks, just as you would with most smart locks. I can't say anything about the battery life of the lock and of course the keypad at the moment. That will just have to be determined over time. Additionally, I am personally still waiting for the release of the battery pack. This means that currently there are basically 4 AA batteries installed in the Homekey lock. However, this is intended to be replaced in the future by a battery pack or by 2 battery packs that can be used one after the other, allowing one to be charged while the other is used in parallel. As a former power pack user of Homekey, this is very relevant to me because it has actually happened that I forgot the battery pack was still connected to the charging cable and not in the lock. I let the door close and then had a problem getting back in since I had laid a cable to the lock and thus it was permanently connected. One of the things I would wish for in the Switchbot vlog is the ability to provide it with a permanent power supply. I personally find it much more pleasant not to have to worry about the charging at all. What I also find extremely lacking is an auto unlock function. With my old lock, I could set a certain area around my home. When I entered this area, the app automatically waited to connect with the lock, and when this connection could be established, meaning I was relatively close to the lock, it would unlock automatically. That is of course super practical, and I would wish for that here, especially since I can only set the unlock time to a maximum of 10 seconds. This means that the lock opens and remains open for 10 seconds, giving you the opportunity to open the door. I have to say it is impractical here, even though I don't live in such a big house. But when I imagine living in a 5-story household and wanting to set up an unlocking zone so that the lock automatically opens when you enter that area, and then you also have to run up 5 floors within 10 seconds, which makes the whole thing so unrealistic that I can't even imagine it. And I also wonder what the purpose of these 10 seconds is when one could simply adjust the area individually. At least the unlocking area could theoretically be solved by creating an automation in HomeKit or Google Home that opens the lock when entering a specific area. Unfortunately, the ability to connect via Bluetooth is missing, so one cannot ensure that they are really close to the lock. But I also have ideas for how to DIY that. If you would like to see it, feel free to write it in the comments and I will make a follow-up video about it. Back to the bridge and the lock. I have now used the setup pretty much out of the box, but in the future I would like to upgrade it a level and, first of all, remove the bridge. Since I have so many different smart home manufacturers, I actually don't want to have 15 bridges running here, but rather be able to control everything with a central system. And in my case, it is of course Home Assistant, so I am trying to integrate the lock into Home Assistant. Unfortunately, the Lock Pro is still so new that it does not yet have an official Home Assistant integration. However, I was already able to integrate everything with the beta version of Home Assistant, allowing me to at least control the lock using the own Switchbot integration, which connects directly to the lock via Bluetooth. Therefore, for this reason, the bridge is no longer needed. The only disadvantage of direct integration is, of course, that the keypad becomes unusable, meaning you can no longer operate the keypad remotely. So, adding corresponding codes, fingerprints, and so on and so forth, perhaps something from the home assisting community will also come our way. However, if you can forego the spontaneous addition of codes and perhaps create 1 or 2 reserve codes that you can send to your friends while on the go, in case of an emergency, and then manually remove them later via the app, you can already save yourself the Switchbot bridge. This way, you not only avoid having to buy a Switchbot bridge in 2021, but you also have the advantage of directly integrating the meta integration that this Switchbot bridge provides into Home Assistant. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, I have a little bonus for you because I would like to integrate the lock with the iPhone in such a way that you theoretically no longer need the keypad at all, that you don't need the app at all, and you can use what I consider to be the coolest unlocking method which was introduced over a year ago but is still not supported by any lock, and that is Apple Homekey. Specifically, it works like this. You simply hold your phone up to your lock, just like with mobile payments, and it automatically unlocks. Of course, this works not only with the iPhone, but theoretically also with an Apple Watch, so you can leave your phone completely in your pocket and just need to get your Apple Watch somehow near the lock, which is enough to unlock your door. If you're interested, you should subscribe to the channel and check back next week, as I will present in a detailed video how to build the whole thing yourself and theoretically connect it with any smart lock. Otherwise, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to show it with a rating. See you next week for a new video. Until then, take care and goodbye.